I'm Nick Powell, City Hall Bureau Chief with City and State. Joining me today is Jason Pizer, President of Trinity Real Estate. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So the big project that you guys have in the pipeline is the Hudson Square rezoning, which I understand was 5 years, 6 years in the making, and was approved by the City Council in March of last year. Can you take us through some of the major alterations to that program or to that proposal?
Well, as you may know, Hudson Square was long an industrial area, home to the printing industry in the city and much of the country. Buildings were loft-style buildings. Many of them were built in the 20s and 30s, and the area was zoned for just that kind of businesses, had never been changed. And we, in the late 80s, early 90s, decided to upgrade these buildings to office tenants as the printing industry started to evolve away from the big printing presses and more towards desktop computing. The next step, obviously, was to create a 24/7 type of a neighborhood. And the only way to do that was to introduce some sort of residential component. Under the old zoning in M16, you couldn't do that. So what Trinity tried to do was to apply to the city to allow for residential development within Hudson Square. And as you said, in March, it was passed.
And I understand this now has 3,000 affordable units as part of the rezoning. Is that correct?
There's no set number. There are some very strong incentives for developers to build affordable housing. They'll get a bonus of a 3 FAR if affordable housing is introduced into the project.
Okay. Now, Mayor de Blasio he's obviously made affordable housing a huge tenet of his mayoralty. Now, how does this program kind of, with the new administration coming in, this was obviously rezoned under Michael Bloomberg. Does this change anything with how this program is going to be developed, or this proposal is going to be developed?
I don't know what the new mayor has planned. I think that it will only be helpful. Trinity is very much in favor, and I personally am very much in favor of affordable housing. We're looking forward to see what the administration proposes in terms of any kind of city help in terms of tax advantages. But we just think that the Hudson Square rezoning is only going to be helpful when applying and getting affordable housing.
Now, Mayor de Blasio has also called for something of a fundamental reset with the real estate and development community. What do you take that to mean? I mean, I'm curious, and some people take this to mean that there will be less rezoning or less development, but I'm curious what your take is.
I don't want to speculate. I don't really know what a fundamental reset is. I know he ran on affordable housing, and I think that's a great platform. I think the city really needs to do something and help the middle class. I mean, we're vibrant because of the jobs and the people and the transportation, and affordable housing plays a big role in that. So if he meant helping boost affordable housing, we're all for that.
Now, under Mayor Bloomberg's new housing marketplace plan, I believe there was roughly 165,000 units of affordable housing either created or preserved. Mayor de Blasio just called for 200,000, which some people have questioned the feasibility of that number. Do you think that's a realistic number for an 8-year potentially mayoralty?
Listen, a lot of that's going to be driven by the market, and a lot of that's going to be driven by the math of the real estate deal. I think it's a good thing to be optimistic, and I think calling for large numbers of affordable housing is a good thing. And the future will tell us whether that's too aggressive or not.
Now, could you see? With it looking unlikely that the federal government is going to have a lot of money to contribute to us building affordable housing in New York City, could you foresee a scenario where a lot of public-private partnerships come into play to help facilitate that?
That's played a role in the past. If there isn't going to be any federal help here, there'll have to be some impetus to get people to undertake affordable housing. So it seems likely that would have to play a role, yes.
A lot has been made about the lack of space in New York City for major development. Are there areas that you have seen that can be potentially ripe for development in the future?
I don't like to focus on specific neighborhoods when talking about development. A lot of New York City has been discovered. There really are no bad neighborhoods. It all depends on the individual site and the individual project. There are still many of those available, still in Manhattan, downtown, midtown. There's plenty of boroughs. We're very excited about what's going on in the World Trade Center. We think that's only going to help the economy. And we're very excited what's going on in Midtown South, particularly in and around Hudson Square, not just Hudson Square, but Soho, Tribeca, Chelsea. and the Hudson Yards. Yes.
Are there any other major projects that Trinity is working on that you'd like to shed some light on?
Well, we have our own development sites up in Hudson Square. Duarte Square, I don't know if you know, was a big part of the rezoning. There's going to be an elementary school constructed there, as well as a community center and a park. That needs to be done sometime by 2016. So this year we're really going to focus on Duarte Square and see if something can't get done there.
Jason Pizer, president of Trinity Real Estate, thank you for joining us today.